Hello all, this is Nitika from Visa to Learn. In today's podcast, we will discuss about TSS visa subclass 482 for Australia. A 482 visa is a work visa you can apply for only if you have a sponsor that nominated you for the visa. Your sponsor must provide evidence of having a genuine need to fill in that position with an overseas worker. When you apply for 482 visa, you have to select which stream is more suitable for you. TSS visa is divided into three different streams, which are number one, short term stream. With a short term stream visa, you can work in Australia for up to 2 years or four, depending on your situation. Number two, medium term stream. The medium term stream will allow you to stay and work in Australia for up to 4 years, and you may apply for permanent residence if you meet the eligibility criteria. Number three, labor agreement stream. You can apply for labor agreement stream if your sponsor is a part of labor agreements. The labor agreements represent an accord between Australian employers and the Australian government that allows businesses to bring workers to Australia according to the specific labor agreement. Here are the eligibility criteria for a 482 visa. Number one, you are nominated for a job position by an eligible employer. Number two, you are employed in your nominated profession and worked for your nominator. Number three, you worked in your nominated occupation for at least 2 years before applying for a 482 visa. Number four, you have a substantive visa or a bridging visa A, B, or C if you apply from Australia. Number five, for a short term stream, your employer must nominate you for a position in the short term skill occupation list. Number six, for a medium term stream, you must be nominated for a profession in the medium term skill occupation list. Number seven, for a labor agreement stream, your occupation must be included in the labor agreements between the government of Australia and your sponsor. And secondly, your sponsor must be a part of the labor agreements. English requirements for TSS visa. For your 482 visa, you must provide evidence that you meet at least the minimum requirements of English language proficiency. The required scores change according to the visa stream you are applying for. There are different minimum scores to be achieved for different tests. For example, IELTS, International English Language Testing System. Minimum score is 5 overall with at least 4.5 in each test element. OET, Occupational English Test. Minimum score is B for each test element. TOEFL IBT, Test of English as a Foreign Language Internet Based Test. Minimum points are 35 points with at least 3 points for listening and reading and 12 points for speaking and writing. PTE, Pearson Test of English Academic. Minimum score is 36 points in total with at least 30 points in each test element. Cambridge C1 Advanced Test. Minimum score is 154 points in total with a score of 147 for each test element. You are exempted from language requirements if number one, you hold a passport from UK, US, Canada, New Zealand, and the Republic of Ireland. Number two, you have finished at least 5 years of full time study in a secondary school where classes were held in English. You must provide details of institution. Number three, your nominated occupation is a diplomatic mission or will be performed at an office of the authorities of Taiwan. Number four, you hold a registration, license, or membership for your nominated occupation. Number five, you prove that you have a higher level of English proficiency than the required according to the score tables. Number six, you are an employee of an overseas Australian business or its associated entity that nominated you to work in Australia, and you will receive an annual income of Australian dollars 96,400. You need to assemble a number of documents for your 482 visa application. For example, passport and ID. You must have a valid passport when you apply for visa and provide other identification documents that the Department of Home Affairs requires. Experience and qualifications. You have to submit documents that prove your experience, skills, and qualifications. You can submit proof of licensing or registration, relevant certificates and awards, previous employers' references, your resume, and so on. Skill assessment and documents. Depending on your visa stream, you may be required to submit a skill assessment report. If this is obligatory, you must attach it to your visa application or you won't be granted a visa. You must confirm this requirement beforehand with the immigration office. Proof of English proficiency. You have to provide evidence that you meet the minimum requirements for English language proficiency. Health insurance. You must have valid health insurance during the time you will be staying in Australia. Evidence of your good character. To prove you are of good character, submit Form 80 and Form 1221 along with other documents, for example, police certificates. Documents for your partner. In case you are applying with your partner for 482 visa, then you have to submit their identification documents, your marriage certificate, or proof of registered relationship. Your partner must also meet the character requirements. Documents for your minor children. For your minor children, you have to submit their birth certificate, copies of their passport, and any similar documents. You must also fill in and provide Form 1229 for parental consent, a statutory declaration, or provide other forms of consent. Documents for your adult dependent child. If you apply with children over 18 that are dependent on you, you must provide their identification documents, character documents, Form 47, and any other proof of dependency. 6A. Application process for 482 visa. Number 1, your sponsor applies for sponsorship. Before you can apply for a 482 visa, your sponsor must apply to become a standard sponsor if they are not already one. Your sponsor must lodge an online application for sponsorship via email account and submit the required documents. Your employer is required to pay a sponsorship fee of 420 Australian dollars. If you are applying for labor agreement stream, your sponsor doesn't have to apply to become an eligible sponsor. However, your employer must be a part of labor agreements, and if they are not, they are required to submit a request to become a part of the accord. Number 2, your sponsor is approved. Once your sponsor is approved, the sponsorship will last for 5 years. After that, your employer can submit a nomination application for you to get this visa. Number 3, your sponsor nominates you for the visa. As soon as your employer is an approved sponsor, they can lodge a nomination application for you. They have to nominate you via IMI account and pay a nomination fee of Australian dollars 330. Number 4, your sponsor pays the levy fund. Once your sponsor begins the nomination process, they are required to pay the skills levy fund. The full amount of the fund will be calculated in the nomination form, but the payment will vary depending on the business size and the length of the work period. After your 482 visa is granted, you have to follow these conditions to maintain your visa. Number 1, you have to start working within 90 days after you arrive in Australia or after you receive your visa, if you applied from within the country. Number 2, you must work only within your nominated occupation. Number 3, you cannot stop working for more than 60 consecutive days. Number 4, you must work only for the business that nominated you unless you are an exemption. Also, the minimum threshold for TSS visa is Australian dollars 70,000. Pathway to PR. You can get a permanent visa if your employer nominates you for PR through one of these visas. Number 1, Employer Nomination Scheme, Visa 186. Number 2, Regional Sponsored Migration Scheme, Visa 187. If you have a labor agreement stream, then you can apply for a PR visa only through a visa subclass 186. Now let's see what are the frequently asked questions for 482 visa. Number 1, can I include family members on my 482 visa? Yes, you can. You can apply with family members that belong to your close family unit, for example, your spouse or your de facto partner, your minor child or your partner's minor child, your adult dependent child or your partner's adult dependent child, you or your partner's grandchild, minor or dependent. You can include any of these. Number two, how long can I stay with 482 visa? Generally speaking, you can stay up to 4 years with a 482 visa. However, if you have a short term stream visa 482, you have a visa only for 2 years. Your short term stream visa will last for 4 years if an ITO applies to your visa. Number 3, can I change employers with a 482 visa? No. If you want to change your employer, you have to apply for the visa again. Keep in mind that your new employer has to submit another nomination form and have the nomination approved before you can start working for them. Number 4, can I change my occupation with 482 visa? The answer is no. You have to work with the same occupation that you were nominated for when you were granted a 482 visa. However, if you want to change your profession, you have to apply for another temporary skill shortage visa. Hope that this podcast has given you some useful information on TSS visa subclass 482. If you have any questions or need more assistance, please get in touch with us at info@visatoland.com or visit our website www.visatoland.com. Visa to Land is a registered immigration consultancy approved by Department of Home Affairs, Australia. Thank you.